no statute of limitation on murder.
Right.
So when you jumping off the porch with a body, you watching your back for the rest of your life.
The rest of your life.
So this kind of mentality, this culture, this self-destructive culture that we have accepted as a way of life, to being killers, you know, that's real. And so now, if we want to be peacemakers, right? That mind where you would want to kill someone just for a rep is rooted in self-hatred. It's self-hatred. So you don't value your brother because you don't really value yourself. So since you don't think nothing of yourself, it's nothing to kill this man. He's nothing to me. But in reality, that's how you're feeling about yourself.
That's a fact.
So we have to train our people to love themselves, right? And we have to love our people. We have to love our people that's doing this work. If you want to be a peacemaker, you have to love your people more than they hate themselves. And that's the spirit of love when we go into the community. We're not going into our community trying to act like the police on some self-righteous, clean up, you know, or like, you know, like we used to see back in the day, the guardian angels. Like, nah, that's not the energy. We going into our community as the community, as their brother, to show them love and to be an example and to help, not to judge, not to condemn. We're not going there to condemn. Brother, pull your pants up. Brother, put that bottle down. But why are you smoking? We don't have to do all that. All we got to do is be there and be present for peace. Show them love. And that genuine love and concern, if you go in the community and you give our brothers love, man, you're going to get love. And if they know that you're genuine and you love them, see, what we want to do is build a rapport. So that now, brother, we offer conflict mediation. So now, brother, if you're in a beef with another crew, you can reach out to us before it escalates to that point that we can't return from.
Hold on, brother. That's something that's very important. You need to look at the camera and let the brothers know what you just said. To all the active gang members that's out there that's going to watch this, that if they, because a lot of them don't want to know, they don't want to do what they're doing,
right?
But they don't know how to navigate to make it a peace call without them feeling like they're suckers or they're not a man, as they say, right?
Right.
But let them know that they can reach out, again, how you just said, for you guys to come in and mediate a peaceful resolution.
Yeah, absolutely. See, we're never taught conflict mediation, you know, and as a matter of fact, we're taught the opposite when we're in our little circles, right? You have those that are putting a battery in your back. We got to be, nah, F them. We got to ride on them. Yo, they want you to ride. You know what I mean? And a lot of times we egging each other on to retaliate and escalate a situation. Sometimes that don't need to be escalated. But let me tell you, every conflict doesn't have to end with someone being shot, stabbed, and murdered, man. It just doesn't. That's rooted from self-hatred. So we as the peacemakers, we are offering ourselves to you. That, you know, if you're in a conflict, someone you feel did you wrong or whatnot, you can reach out to us. We are neutral third party, right? That can mediate the conflict and help resolve it before it escalates to the next level. Now, a lot of gangs now call themselves nation. The Blood Nation, the Crip Nation, the this nation, the that nation, right? Well, conflict is natural to nations. When you look at America, she's been in conflict with every country on the planet. But that's why the United Nations is established. There's a body where they can deliberate and try to resolve conflicts peacefully. Now, there's some conflicts where both parties may not want to come and sit at the table, and it escalates to a war. That's when diplomacy's out the window, right? But if you look at all wars, have to end at some point. Biden just ended America's longest standing war in Afghanistan.
20 years.
20 years. At some point, it just doesn't make fiscal sense. They were spending billions of dollars a year on war just to keep this thing going, and it's not resolving. At a certain point, intelligent people pull back and say, yo, this don't make sense. How can we resolve this conflict and move on? And so, so the war in Afghanistan might have been America's longest war, but it wasn't America's bloodiest war. You know, when we look at the Civil War, you have the North and the South. And they lost millions. But at a certain point, they had to come back and say, listen, how can we resolve this? And then they have to resolve the conflict and move on and do what's in the best interest of the most people that are currently living. Look at America and Japan. America dropped 2 nuclear bombs in Japan, right? Killing hundreds of thousands of people. When the only time nuclear bombs were actually used in war was America dropping the nuclear bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, killing and destroying Japan. But check it out. Now, because I say this because a lot of times when we talk about conflict mediation, brothers feel like, yo, I got beef. They killed one of my homies. Oh, this blood, this bodies involved. I get it. But hell, conflicts that had bodies involved were resolved. Japan lost hundreds of thousands of people. Right. But at a certain point, they had to say, are we going to keep beefing? Or are we going to do what's in the best interest of the Japanese that are still living now? Right. Imagine if America and Japan didn't resolve. Look, Japan is getting money with America now. Right. Look how many Toyotas and Mitsubishis and, you know what I'm saying? Right. That Japan is selling computers and cell phones. They're getting money together, man. If they were so caught up on the beef and how many of my homies you killed, they won't be able to get beyond that to do business and let's get this money. So what I tell brothers, the gang members in the streets, you could keep holding on to beef that was 20 years old, 10 years old, 5. It don't matter. Does it make sense? Or are you just acting out of emotion? And sometimes you may not feel that there's an alternative and there's nothing else to do. If I don't get them, they're going to get me. That's not necessarily the case. We can bring, and we have brought warring tribes together and they squashed their beefs, man. One of the things that happened leading up to the Million Man March, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was crisscrossing the country on a Stop the Killing tour. And he spoke in LA. I believe it was 93. I may be wrong on that, but it was definitely before the Million Man March. Right. And when he spoke, he had the Bloods and the Crips. Now, they had been beefing for years. Right. They both came out because they both respected the minister. And after listening to the minister, they started to mediate their conflict, and they had a truce. So if the Bloods and the Crips can produce a truce over those rivers of blood that they've had, and then again, after Nipsey Hussle was murdered, the Bloods and the Crips and all the gangs in LA came together. Again. They squashed their beefs. So these beefs that we have here in Boston, in this city, and in any city, right? They can be resolved. Absolutely. America not only dropped bombs on Japan, she done went to war with Russia, with England, with France, with Spain, right? She done beef with everybody. Wars, real wars. But now what? They are allies. We as people, as black people, so-called gangsters, you know, if you in the hood, gang banging. The brother that you at war with from the other crew, that's not your natural enemy. That's your brother, man. If you from one hood and you got beef with another hood, yeah, know your smoke. Your smoke is not your brother from the other project, right? Your real smoke is the one that put you and your op in the projects. How about that? That's right. So I'm with OP. At one point, we had conflict with brothers from the Point. One project, and why are we beefing? because we from this project and you from that project. How silly it is, because our parents didn't have a choice on which project they ended up in. They needed subsidized housing, and they put their name on the list. And depending on where their name came up on that list, they was either sent to Mission Hill, they was sent to Columbia Point, they was sent to Orchard Park, they was sent to JP. South End, to JP. Our people was struggling in poverty that was created by the real op, the real open enemy that redlined us into projects, that discriminated against our parents, that would not allow them to get a meaningful employment, that broke up the family by telling a woman you don't need a man. Matter of fact, if you have children and the father's out the house, we'll give you a housing, we'll give you welfare, you got to renounce the father. So this is government policy that created broken families and projects. And now, because I grew up in this project and you in that project, we natural enemies. You not natural enemies. You are natural brothers that the real enemy caused to go at each other. So we can resolve this beef. I'll say this other point on this, P, and you can relate to this because I know you did some Fed time. Here's what I learned from brothers that went and did Fed time. All the crews in Boston, I don't care whether you're from OP, Columbia Point, Mission Hill, Castlegate, Interville, Humble. When you go to the Feds,
038.
Huh?
038.
We all banging under Boston.
That's it.
You gotta stick together.
Right.
Is that right?
Black and white. That's
why? Now why? Why? I'll let you do some talking.
You have, well, first of all, in the Feds, it's not a lot of the knucklehead shit that goes on, excuse my language, but a lot of the stuff that goes on in the counties and in the state jails. When you're in the Feds, you have to stick with your entire state. So if you're from Boston, Massachusetts, whether you're white, black, Spanish, whatever you are, you got a number, which is 038. Everybody who's 038, they stick together. And usually it works out well because it keeps you from getting into trouble. Because first of all, they look down on you if you're a troublemaker and if you start something. Because if you start something, everybody has to get in. So the riots are real in the federal system. Yeah. You know, and it gets dangerous and deadly because you're talking about hundreds of people fighting for one knucklehead. Yeah. So a lot of times that's where you get that respect, you know, and you learn to move like a man, not no knucklehead, you know. So yeah, it's different. It's
the way I look at that, and the way to make it make sense. When you in the Fed system, you ain't got time to beefing with your homies from your city, right, because you got them dudes from another state that's looking at you as food.
Absolutely.
So the point is this: brothers realize intuitively, right? You know, we got a bigger enemy in here.
Absolutely.
The bigger enemy is them dudes from DC or them dudes from
you call
LA.
It too, DC.
Come on now, that's what it is, right?
It is.
So it's like if we not sticking together, they're gonna eat our food.
Right. That's right.
You learn that you got to put your beef aside because there's a bigger threat, and brothers end up breaking bread together.
And you know what? Let me say something else about that. That's one of the reasons why, for me, when I went to jail, I got cool with some of my enemies was because of that Fed bit I did, right? And that's what I realized, that wow, this dude is just like my man over here, and this one, and I got closer to some of the guys that used to be my enemies than I did my own real homies, and that sucks. But even today, it's the same thing. I have friends now who used to be enemies, that's right, who are close to me. We're getting money together, we're doing things together, they're showing real support. And then you got the homies that you done rode for years, and it's not that, you know, it ain't that love. You know, it's not the same.
And I've heard that, and I've seen that. You know, again, as a chaplain, as a minister going in prison, you know, I've had, and these are real, I'm telling you, real live situations and stories. You know, I had a situation where a brother told me, man, he ended up in the box with, he was a shooter from his crew. That's why he was doing time. He ended up in the box with the shooter from the opposite crew, from his op. the dude that came by shooting up his block, that they would have naturally been, but they ended up in the same unit, in the same block, and they got to know each other. And when they got to know each other, you know, they realized who they were, right?
Right.
But the brother said, man, I realized I had so much in common. He was just like me. He was exactly like me. We liked the same thing. We did the same. We thought the same. They became best of friends.
Yeah.
And, you know, these are the type of epiphanies that brothers have in jail after spending 10 and 15 and 20 and even 30 or 40 years in jail.
That's right.
To be able to rise above emotion and to look at reality, you know. And so part of what we want to do with the 10,000 Fearless and the whole Know Your Smoke, you talk about the Know Your Smoke. We have a campaign, you know, that I started with one of the brothers who gave me the thought in prison, who's doing a life bid. You know, when he heard about us going into the communities with the 10,000 Fearless, he said, brother, we got to teach our people to know they smoke. And so he was like, yeah, a lot of these brothers are coming in here talking about, I got smoke with this dude, I got smoke with that dude, but they don't know who their real smoke is. And your real smoke is not, again, the brother from the other hood. Your real smoke, especially when you're in prison, is the ones that's trying to take your life away. The one that has mass incarcerated you. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? These corrupt laws, these unjust laws. Learn that legal system. Nice. You understand what I'm saying? So
we're letting them win.
We're letting them win. And we so busy fighting each other over petty stuff while the system, how many brothers that are listening to this right now that got homies that are doing natural life bids, that are doing 20 and 30 years? You know what I'm saying? Like, I've met so many brothers in prison that are doing natural life bids and haven't killed no one. Right? Mm-hmm. They round us up. There's so many brothers that are doing natural life bids who got caught up in what they call a joint venture. Right. Me and you hanging out. It's 5 of us. We chilling, drinking, smoking. You crash out. You see someone and you get into a fight with them, pull out your knife and kill them. We all together, we flee. I didn't stab nobody. I didn't have no intention of stabbing nobody. I didn't have no intention of killing nobody. But you my man. We here to get, we out. When it goes down.
Excuse me. And you held the code. You didn't tell.
Of course.
So therefore, you took that same life bid.
Of course. When it come down, then the court is going to give all 5 of us a natural life bid.
Yep.
And that happens so much with our people, we think it's normal.
Yeah, we think it's
when in actuality, you probably shouldn't even got a natural life because you didn't. It wasn't premeditated. You was high, you was drunk, y'all got into a fight, and you murdered them, and it happened. That may not necessarily rise to premeditation, which should necessitate a first-degree murder.
Right.
What I saw, see, the white boys, they'll get a manslaughter for the same charge.
That's a fact.
They'll get a second degree for the same charge.
That's right.
And the rest of their homies, they don't even be brought to jail.
Right.
So there's the racial connotation and disparities in the justice system. And how many brothers that's watching this right now that got homies that are doing time, crazy time, when they shouldn't be doing that much time.
Right.
But you ain't banging for that. You ain't trying to learn the law. You ain't trying to change the system. Nah, homie. Know your smoke.
That's real.
Know your smoke.
I like that message. I can't even ask you to. Throughout this whole interview, you've said so much. I was going to ask you to expound on one thing that I usually say in each episode, where I tell everybody the streets love no one. The streets are fake. What's your thoughts on that?
Absolutely, man. It's based on lies. You know what I mean? So when you say the streets, you're talking about the culture. The culture. Because it's not the streets per se, it's the people on the streets. Right? Mm-hmm. So your crew, your clique. Man, listen. A lot of brothers had to learn the hard way, the hard way. right? That the hood ain't gonna love you back like that. And everybody said, "Oh, not my hood. My hood,
Right.
we loyal. We yeah." Until y'all all sitting on
That's
L's.
the key. Until
It's all love until.
Right.
Snitching is in right now.
Right.
Snitching is in. Like, dudes is snitching, man.
Period.
There's no honor among thieves. Think about that. There is no honor among thieves, man. You stealing, you robbing, you stealing. Remember what I said earlier. The mentality is us against the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when brothers get pinched, a lot of dudes. I ain't gonna say everybody because there's some real stand-up dudes.
Right.
I've met a lot of brothers.
Well, you sitting next to one.
Absolutely.
I had many opportunities to go that left route and give up folks, and I fought 2 life bids, with one with the feds and one with the state, and I took them both to trial, and there was no other option. But everybody don't think like that.
True indeed.
You know what I mean?
It's
Everybody don't roll
far
like
and
that.
few in between.
That's right.
Everybody's not, and I've had the pleasure of meeting some stand-up dudes that did years just because they wouldn't talk. But unfortunately, again, the culture is changing, man.
Facts.
This new breed, snitching is like, there was a code back in the day that we wouldn't do that, but nowadays dudes is flipping on each other. And not only that, but there's the other side of it. Whereas, and this is just the reality of it, that you take a bid for someone, they're not going to be there to look out for your children. They're not going to be there to look out for your mama. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to be there to look out for you. You're not even going to get no pictures.
No pink slips.
No pink slips.
Your commissary's going to come from your mother, if she's alive, or it's going to come from your baby's mother that you can't stand right now. You're not taking care. You're not doing what you're
Man, I
supposed
done
to do.
seen things with dudes, homies, is sleeping with their woman while they in jail.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, just some foul things, man. And it's like, man, that's what you giving your life for.
So when you know these things, what we're trying to tell you all, as the older brothers who've been there, done that, and changed our lives, is that's not the way to go. Like this street life, gang banging, being out here and doing what we're doing, is what I call fuckery. Like you're not going to get anywhere with that mind state. You have to change your thinking in order to change your life. Bottom line.
Yeah, brother. What I would say to our brothers, man, and adding on to that is, like, understand that we're being played. You understand? Like, we think it's us against the world, and we being thug, and we're gonna get it by hook or crook, but we not getting it. We're being got.
I
you know what I'm saying? Understand? You're not getting it. You're being got. We're being played. We going out like straight suckers. If you continue, now I'm gonna tell the brothers, man, if you continue gang banging and in this gangster lifestyle, if you continue, you going out like a sucker. Why? Let me tell you. No disrespect. Respectfully, right? We being pimped by the system. This is what I watched. When I joined the nation, you know what I'm saying? A few years after I joined the nation, I see my crew, the crew that I was rolling with. I remember one time I was down Dudley selling the Final Call newspapers, and I seen a fleet of brand new Lexuses coming down in a row, 3 or 4 of them. I'm looking at it because you seeing them. They look tight.
Yeah, they were doing
I pull up. That's my man. And then behind them, it was the crew. It was they was riding an all new Lexus. They was getting money by this time. I wasn't really getting that much money. I was in the beginning phases of it. You know what I'm saying? It was more about gangbanging than really making money.
Yeah.
But these brothers was making money now. A couple years after I joined the nation, I'm looking at them, and it's love. I love them. They love me. They smile, and they like, yeah, we getting it. I'm like, man, I see you, man, but you need to get this paper, man. You know what I'm saying? Get this knowledge. They like, But shortly thereafter is when they raided OP. And I remember they locked up practically the whole crew. 20, 30 dudes got locked up on a raid, a major raid. And they gave brothers was, this was like the first time that I saw that brothers, hood dudes, You know what I'm saying? Dudes is my home. I see we grew up together in the school. I know you. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're getting like 40 years. 20, I think the least one was maybe like something around 20 or 19 years that they was getting because it was Fed time. And they raided the whole crew. And I was like, damn. So I remember it because that was my crew. But what happened was, after maybe another year or two went by, they did the same raid in Mission Hill. Yep. And they locked up 20 or 30 dudes, big time. Then I noticed after that, they did Mission Hill. Same thing. Another year or two, they did Castlegate. They came and raided the whole crew in Castlegate. Then they did Interville Street. Then they did Lucerne. Then they did Lenox. Then they did the Cape Verdean brothers on George Street in Wendover. Right? And I noticed this pattern. It would seem like every year or every at least 2 years, sometimes it may be 2 in a year, they'll have these major raids. And what I remember from when they raided my crew, because I read the paper because that was my homies, they said we was watching them for 5 years.
That's right. They were giving you enough rope.
They was watching them for 5 years. They got you on tape. So when I do the math to that, well, if they was watching OP for 5 years before they raided them, and then they was watching Mission for 5 years, that means that when they raided OP, they already knew Mission was popular. They let them go.
Yep.
Get your chips up, right? And then we're gonna raid you. Now, when you read Michelle Alexander's book, Mass Incarceration in the Age of a Colorblind Society, right? She talks about in that book how when the police conduct these raids, 80% of the money that they confiscate goes directly to the police department.
Absolutely. It's funny you mentioned that. I just learned that the other day. I was
80% of what they take. So now look, all those Lexuses, they take that. Where they go? They sell them on the police auction.
Yep.
80% of that money going to the police department.
That's right.
If you got cash, the last one I remember was when they raided the brothers in the Point. Them brothers had like, it was over $1 million. I can't remember the exact figure. They had over $1 million in cash that they confiscated from this drug raid. 80% of that goes to the police department. So now, if they've been watching you for 5 years, if they doing raid after raid, what is that telling me? They pimping us, man.
Facts.
Go and get my money, ho. Get your weight up. And then when you got the money, I'm gonna come and take it all. Confiscate your cars, your jewelry, your house, your money. Send you in jail for 10 or 15 years, 20 years, or life. And if you have any money that we didn't catch, you're going to spend it on lawyer fees.
That's right.
So all of our hustling and thugging, this is what I'm saying. Listen, brothers, no disrespect, brothers, respectfully. This is why I said we going out like suckers. Because we taking all the risk. We out there putting our life on the line. We killing, we murdering our own people. We selling all this poison. And then the enemy's sitting there watching you. And it's not even fair today. They got cameras on the street blocks. They got shot spotters. They got snitches. They got agents. Because a lot of these dudes that's in the hood, and I'm going to tell you this, a lot of the older homies, you better watch those so-called older homies that's still in the game. They've been hustling for years and still doing it. A lot of those dudes, the reason why they still doing it because they snitching.
Right. Facts.
So the police is giving them a pass.
Yeah.
So they could turn out the next generation. This ain't, I'm not just saying, I'm telling you what I know.
Facts.
This is actual facts. So now, if you jump off the porch today, young man, you're being played, man, by an older dude that's using you.
you're setting yourself up to lose before you're never going to win. You may
never
think
win.
you're winning because you got a little bread now and you got the car now and all that, but like he just said, they watch it, you got your homie next to you that's going to tell, you're not going to win. So it costs more to be a criminal today than it did ever. So
and at the end of the day, you're going to end up with nothing.
Right.
And you'll come out 40 years old trying to do something now to live, man, because you done figured it out way later. So no, brothers, you know, that's not what it is. We have been being plagued. And so I'm calling on the OGs, man. I'm calling on the elder brothers, the big homies. It's on you, man. It's on you, man. You can't keep perpetuating this stuff. You should know better. Matter of fact, I would say you do know better. Because you was me, you was P. I'll say P more so because by the grace of God, I was able to avoid prison. That all my homies ended up going to, my family. I thank Allah for plucking me out of the game when I was plucked out. Yeah, right. But everyone that was around me is either dead or in jail. Right? So, but when I look at you, P, you know, someone that been there and went through that, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, and I look at your movement, GGL, and I salute all the brothers, man, that riding with you, man. You know what I'm saying? Ice-T, and, you know what I'm saying? Brothers, man, that was really in the game. But if you look at most brothers that was so-called, and I always use that so-called, I put it in gangster in quote, because we kind of glamorize gangster. But we ain't really no real gangsters like that, because, you know, let me say this, right?
Nah, I think we put the twist on gangster, man, and we look at it the wrong way. Like gangster, everyone feels in the street that if you shooting someone, you got a couple bodies or whatever, you gangster. That's not what a gangster does, bro. That's not a gangster at all. A gangster, I'm more gangster now than I ever been in my life, and right now I'm gangster because I'm trying to save one of you young brothers' lives. That's what a boss does. He calls shots. I'm a shot caller right now, you know, and that's what a gangster is. A gangster is not no, you know, we're not doing a body count like the young brother you said was talking about. My crew got more bodies or whatever. That don't make you no gangster. That makes you a fool. Just gonna keep it real. Call it how it is. This is real spit from the Gangsta Gone legit. Now, if you wanna go on and say, well, the work I put in make me a G. Nah, I don't, man. You gotta look at it like this. If you wanna mimic yourself by the rules of what the gangsters did back in the day, if you look at Capone or any of these brothers, they were bosses. They wasn't putting the work in. Their thug was putting the work in. So if you're a thug, you're not a gangster. There's a difference.
Well, let me take it even a step further, right? Because the real gangsters, remember who I told you was the real gangster, right?
Yeah.
The white man's the real gangster. Right. So when we look at the white man, he legitimizes his gangster. Right? America's a country now. They stole it. They kidnapped us, but it's all legit now. Right? But let's look at the gangsters that we do know. Right? When we look at the Kennedys. Do you know that the Kennedy's father was gangster? He was a bootlegger back when alcohol was illegal. That's what it was back then. They were selling liquor during the Prohibition era. The Kennedy's father, President Kennedy's father, was a gangster. But look, that's Gangsta Gone legit, because he was able to parlay his gangster money, the money he was making, and he legitimized it to the point where he had a son that became president. He had another son that became a senator, and he had another son that became the top. What would they call that? Bobby Kennedy. He was the over the Department of Justice. I'm having a mental freeze right now, but he was the top. He was the top lawyer. You know what I'm saying? Under the Department of Justice.
Robert, it was Bobby Kennedy, you said?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Bobby Kennedy. Yeah, he was the head of the Department of Justice. But the whole Kennedy clan is now like legitimate. Yeah. You understand? We look at here in Boston. I mentioned Whitey Bulger, who was a snitch, by the way.
Right.
And a lot of these so-called gangsters when the pinks came in, right? They end up talking.
Yeah.
But here, check this out. Whitey Bulger was the top an Irish gangster in Boston. His brother was Billy Bulger, right? One of the top political leaders in Boston.
Right.
So the whole thing about the gangsters was to legitimize their hustle. You understand? So when we look at all of the ethnic groups, when they came, the Italians, they started off gangsters. The Irish were gangsters. The Jews, when they came, there was gangsters. But what they did was they cleaned their money up. They invested, and now they have legitimate businesses. You know, so to my brothers, man, that's gangsters that's in that. Okay, you put in work, you did this, you did that. But if you want to limit yourself to being a thug, like you said, and not opening up a legitimate business so that you can put the next generation to work, so that the next generation coming after you don't have to pick up their hammer, be on the corner, and have this thug persona. See, we got to clean it up. We got to make our community better, not just be stuck as this caricature of this thug. That's not where it's at, beloved.
I agree 100%. On that note, I think we need to stop there so we have some way to go for part 2.
Yes, sir. We can talk all day, man.
Yeah, man, and I love it because you drop nothing but jewels. In parting, is there anything that you would like to say before we go?
I want to thank you, you know, for taking this time, man, to have me on your show. You know, again,
it's a blessing.
You know, I respect you. I salute your movement. You know, and I feel like, you know, your movement is a natural affinity with my movement, or the movement that I'm pushing. You know what I mean? And I say that based off of my journey as a brother who've come from that lifestyle, who've changed, but more importantly, who's served in the prison and has been up and close with gangsters and brothers that are actually serving life bids for doing the things that are glamorized. And I can tell you that the brothers that are in jail, you know, they're not the same. They're not thinking the same. I've met a lot of brothers who were the shooters out here, who was that dude out here. But now they're intelligent. They've gone legit. These are brothers that are running programs. African American Heritage Clubs, AAC. You know what I'm saying? They're putting on events. They're educating young people. You know what I mean? And so, you know, me working with those brothers up close and personal, you know, shout out to Diamond, you know what I mean? Daryl Jones, one of the brothers that I was blessed to work with behind the wall, who was wrongfully convicted, but he held his own. You know what I mean? Stand up brother.
32 years.
32 years. And he was one of those brothers, man, that everyone knew. You know what I mean? He didn't do it. But the reason why he spent most of that time is because he didn't talk. You understand? So he was respected because he held his own. You know, and but one of the most intelligent brothers that you can speak to.
Absolutely.
And he spent his time in jail, you know, educating himself, but also creating movements and making positive contributions. And so that's what I want to thank you, because me being up close and working with brothers like that and seeing real gangsters who have gone legit, many unfortunately who don't have the privilege to be out here. You know, and it's one thing, you know, it's one thing to be a gangster gone legit in prison.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's another thing.
It's another thing to be a gangster gone legit on the street and keeping it 100. So I salute you and I respect you, and for me, I'm all about this movement because I know that we can do better. I know, and we have to educate the brothers in the street. I want to give the brothers in the street the same information that the brother in jail is receiving that's causing him to go legit. Right? We brothers shouldn't have to go to jail
to get that
information.
Right. We're out here.
We out here. We got to give it to them out here.
Right.
To prevent them from going to jail. So this is near and dear to me. So I just thank you for having me on this platform, and thank you for doing what you're doing. And naturally, you know, we collab. You know, you're one of the 10,000 fearless peacemakers. You know, so let's continue to do what we can do, and whatever you need from me, beloved, you know, I'm here for you. So thank you.
Thank you. I thank you, and I'm honored that you were my guest. Like I said, now my closing, I want to say that, which a lot of people don't know, it was the Nation of Islam that saved my life in prison. Because if I didn't join when I did, which was 1993, when I was in jail, I was becoming a monster because I had met my fears. And so my whole thought process was to learn all I could learn, so when I got back out, I could do what I was doing better. There was no thought of trying to change or, you know, put the guns down or none of that. And to tell you the truth, when I first came out, that's exactly what it did do. Like, I was worse before I got better. It was the second trip to prison, talking to this Muslim brother from the Nation, that really changed my thinking. And that's why I stand by, you have to change your thinking in order to change your life. And that's what it took. It took becoming a member of the Nation of Islam and learning the teachings that really changed me. And when I came out here a couple of years ago, when I was reintroduced on the street, that's when it meant even more to me, because I seen a lot of people in prison deal with religion for different reasons. It could have been protection, could have been to feel wanted or needed, or whatever their reason was in jail. Out here it's harder because it's the real world. So when I got with you brothers over and became a part of the 10,000 Fearless, that was a whole different feeling. I started seeing that there's a purpose for my life. You know what I mean? And I'm driven now because I know that the goal that Allah has set for me is to save one of these men's lives, one of these young brothers' lives. Right. And I know I can do it through my life and what I've been through, because I've been through it all, and it's real. There's no faking here.
That's right.
And with you guys backing that movement up, it means a lot to me, because the brothers do have a lot of love and respect for the Gangsta Gone legit movement. They recognize that it's a lifestyle and it's a movement. You've said that throughout this interview, that it's a movement, and that's what it is. So on that note, I want to end by saying that, just like the brother said earlier, if he can change, and so can you. If I can change, come on, you definitely can do it. If I could stop banging, because I loved my crew. It was Academy Homes, Castle. I love what I was doing when I was doing it. But there's not a part of me that rocks like that right now. There's not an inch, nothing in me that wants to live that life no more, because I learned it was phony. I learned it was fake. It's not worth it. So please, if you're watching this and you're active and you want a way out, remember what the brother said. You can come through the Nation. You could come through me. And I could set up, if you feel more comfortable, a meeting with the minister, Mr. Randy Muhammad, and we can become the peacemakers and solve whatever beef that's going on. I'm begging you brothers out there that's active, that I know you really don't want to do this. Like, you might, it's a mask, brother. We all wore it. I wore it for years.
That's right.
Deep down, you know you wish there was a way out. We're giving you that. Take it.
That's right.
Please. That's all I want to say in part, brother.
If I may, one last thing. Boston Peacemakers on Facebook and Twitter. You know, if you want to get down and you want to be a part of the 10,000 Fearless Peacemakers, man, we calling on everyone. You know what I mean? We calling on Gangsters Gone legit. We calling on brothers. Man, if you still in the streets, but you want to be about peace, you know, this is the vehicle. And I'm not necessarily with the 10,000 Fearless Peacemakers calling you to become a Muslim or to join the Nation just to want to be a stand-up brother. and change the culture in our community. You know, so follow us on Boston Peacemakers on Facebook and Twitter. And yes, you know, if you really want to come all the way with it and accept your own and learn about Islam and the Nation of Islam and what has really transformed my life and transformed the lives of countless others, man, because, you know, the minister, you know, we said we have an army that you see, that's the FOI, but there's an army that you don't see. There's a lot of brothers that have been influenced by the minister and by the Nation of Islam that haven't joined yet, but they rocking with us, you know, where they at, you know, so it has changed a lot of our lives. And if you want that for yourself, you know, reach out to me, man. Student Minister Randy Muhammad on Facebook, and like that page and get at me.
Thank you. This has been another edition of Real Spit from a Gangsta Gone Legit. Peace, my brother.
Peace.